Randy told me to walk through my redneck solar fence charger setup here. We'll start with getting a 100-watt solar panel from wherever you can off of Amazon. I think this guy happens to be a grape solar panel, 100 watt. They should all come with, and by the way, that should be 100 bucks or less off pretty much anywhere. I say that, but I haven't looked in the last year or two, and with prices being how they go, who knows. They should all have these, I think they're MC2 connectors, but basically standard solar connectors. And you follow that guy. My charger has the same connectors that come over here to, this was the first charger I got, which I like a lot. It's all technically weather sealed. I have one by the fuel tanks, charging a battery for a little pump. Essentially, I could not find this on Amazon, and I'm a lazy person who, if it's on Amazon, I'll grab it. But 10 amp PWM waterproof solar charger, super easy to read, batteries connected, solar's charging. Get that in the shade. You can see one's lit, one's blinking. So the output of that guy comes up here and screws to a marine battery. This one is a 24 DC size. Don't really care about cranking amps. I thought it had amp hours on it, but good old Interstate from Costco battery. They used to be, actually I think I got, I'll show you version 2 over there. So anyway, this sits in the lid of a Costco tote because that's what would quickly and easily hold this stuff that we had at the time. I could have put it, Costco tote, rest of it. I could have put it the right way up and it probably would have been more easily handled. But this, I feel there's no seams or anything on the top of, make sure I'm not dumping anything, on the top of this guy. So I've never had any water intrusion trouble, even though it pools around there and whatever, pools around the bottom and whatever. It's caused me no issues. And I'll probably throw a 2x4 under the battery to make sure it stays higher than the ground. So then the best part is this guy. We did a decent amount of reading, and these are some of the hottest fencers, 12-volt fencers out there that I've come up with anyway. You'll read people, or excuse me, there's all kinds of brands that talk about how many miles. It comes down to how much energy they're putting out. Neighbor guy has a couple Parmax that are the nice little self-contained solar units. And when you go test them, or when they're popping a weed, it's just a tiny little spark. This guy puts out a heck of a spark, and I think this is the smaller one. I cut a little notch in the lid for the wires to pass through, put that kind of downhill in case water gets in there. And this is my switch to turn it on and off. Super hokey, but super simple, and it just stinking works. And that big giant panel versus the tiny ones on the homemade ones, or excuse me, the store-bought ones, we'll keep this charged with many cloudy days, and through the winter we had zero trouble and batteries were all charged up and always happy. Obviously, giant battery versus some of those little ones. But it is more cumbersome, obnoxious, all that kind of stuff. So that's why this version, when we needed a second one, came to be. It's the exact same setup. Solar panel, Costco battery. This one's a big boy though. It's a 27 DC. So got a box from Walmart, battery box, like a RV battery box that was made for that. Put a little board in there to keep it from shifting around too much. and nice made for RV sunlight lids. It had vents in it, which boggles my mind because it has these giant sections to let wires in and out. Why you... Anyway, I don't understand, but whatever. So the battery charger that I got with this one is a Renogy versus, I forgot what that one was. It'd be funny. Oh, it was Grape Solar. I think it must have come with a panel because I think that's a Renogy panel, my other panel. Yeah, so it was probably a charger and a panel kit. But I don't like this one. It's as much. It works like a champ, but, and you'll see the battery voltage there. I don't know if you can read it, 13.3. So this guy's been just sitting out in the field waiting for me to move it to back here. But it's not waterproof, so that sucks. But like I said, keep it in there, it's fine, and keep it in the battery box and it's fine. So when I throw them out there, obviously this all takes up a little bit less space. I thought about stacking them and putting them on some little baby hand truck or something, but version 3, I might try to find a box that fits both pieces, and I could like mount them to something to where it's not quite as redneck. But again, works like a stinking champ. Oh, we were wondering how big this one was, weren't we? So yeah, he's a bigger dude. Stored 10 joules and outputs 8. You'll note one thing that's kind of neat and crazy. They even tell you it needs at least 3 ground rods. And that's a 6 to 8 foot buried full depth ground rod. That's how much power it puts out. Like, you're not actually getting the full power of it unless you have just massive amount of grounds. So this one being right next to our irrigation, like it's muddy a lot of times right over there, he should be good. And this little guy only needs 2. So I need to pick up more ground rods because I've only been running 1. But I guess I'll probably take a quick picture of where I set this one, but I think it's going to be next to the ditch, so hopefully we get some wet ground with that one too, because I don't think there's anywhere else where that one goes. Nope, nowhere else that would be wetter. So anyway, that's the solar setup. This is a day or two after going and cutting fire breaks where we had to tear out our fence here. I'll try to make it a foot or 2 wider in case we need to go through with the disc again, but the old spring gates are under quite a bit of tension as it was. So anywho, we'll see. All this because hopefully we're getting cows back over here and they'll be out back of our place soon. I do need to address from here to that cattle guard, which is, I don't know, 100, 150 yards. It's highly likely I will put a hot wire just in front of that, probably on pigtails, because you can kind of see the fence is not the greatest, straight or anything of the sort. Might even just use a poly wire, we'll see. But that's the fence charger setup. 2 versions. What you have, slightly better. If we ever build a 3rd one, we'll show you, but the pieces are what's important. How you choose to weatherproof them, that's up to you. Well, this one is all set up and clicking away. It's not the old mechanical clicker style, so the clicking's not as loud. Got my ground rod driven nice and deep. Like I said, I need at least 1 more. I think I'll jumper it over to the T-post as well. Can't think of a downside to it. Technically all the barbed wire becomes a ground then, which probably is good. I don't know, we'll see. And we're right next to the irrigation canal, and that was 8 foot, so hopefully we're getting into some nice wet ground down there. I'll probably come back and clean this guy off a little bit, get a bucket of water or something to toss on him. They still have the bright side of having such a giant panel. They still charge plenty good, even when they're dirty. And oh, the other bright side of this is all the pieces and parts are interchangeable, replaceable. So solar panel goes bad, it's quick and easy to buy a super cheap $100 panel. Same with the charger. The fencer is the only thing that's gonna not be easily replaceable. Those, oh, and I was gonna also mention, those are not cheap if you look those up, but equally they put out a boat ton of power. I'll use my little rinky-dink fence tester and see how many volts we have on this side versus the other side way over there. I know for big boys this is not that large of a fence or long of a fence, but it's the longest run we'll have run off of a fencer. And also, in its current form, it's not super portable, but equally, when you're driving a ground rod and stuff every time, I don't know, is one of those more portable ones ever that much better? I've been wondering about, like I said, make a case for it, and I could put a exterior weatherproof switch on it, and it would be all nice and self-contained with just 4 pigtails hanging out, but meh. It does what we need, and I'm the king of, if it works good enough, then it's gonna stay that way till it doesn't. So I think that's all. I'm gonna go check the voltage around the perimeter and be done with this.
So this is the part of the video where we use a little bit of trust, but not a lot of trust. I trust Sam completely, and for whatever reason, at the end of the last video that he was making, he said he was gonna go test the voltage and then never showed what it actually was. So one thing that I thought was kind of funny, he had texted me when he was hooking it all up. At the beginning of the line it was 6,000 volts, and at the end of the line it was 8,000 volts. So somewhere in between it was making electricity, which I don't think is really how that works. So I asked him about it, and he said that it was probably dry ground versus wet ground, so it was just conducting more, I guess, maybe. But once he got it all hooked up, he tested the whole thing and he said it was 10,000 volts. So I think the hot wire around the pigs is probably between 2 and 4. And the way we check to see if it's working is we take a piece of grass and just touch it onto the fence, and you can kind of feel the little snap, tickle, whatever. So I know this is the setup he showed you, and I don't know if you can hear it, but it's clicking right there and there and there. So I'm assuming that means it's hooked up, which means this fence is hot. So I'm gonna just trust that it's hot, and I mean, part of me's curious and wants to take a piece of grass and touch it, but then a lot of the part of me doesn't want to. So right now I'm not going to. So I'm going to trust that it's 10,000 volts. I'm gonna trust that it's hooked up and working, but I'm not gonna trust myself enough to test it. So call me chicken if you want. I don't have a problem with that. So anyway, this is how we charge our fences or electrify our fences with solar. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.